I'm going to go ahead with the meeting beginning ritual.
起立，面向佛堂，参加三鞠躬、一鞠躬、再鞠躬、三鞠躬，参加各位点传是一鞠躬，开班一鞠躬，请坐下。Please be seated.
Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you all happen to be at the moment. Welcome to another installment of the Sunday Online Tao Study Group. And it's as always, it is a pleasure to see everyone here, and it truly is. This week's talk actually only consists of one slide. You're all looking at it right now, if you can see my screen. And the reason for that is when we do these the visits from the ordained masters and what have you, it is always mostly extemporaneous. We all have a general plan for what's going to happen and a schedule for the various rituals and what have you that we do our best to adhere to. But there's always so much that occurs that is unexpected and unanticipated, and that very often the best laid plans kind of go by the wayside, and we wind up just winging it. And so even though I truly enjoy talking about the visits and relaying what happened and how it happened, it's extremely difficult to put together any kind of a linear presentation in less than 12 hours based on the events that occurred. So you get a one-slide presentation, but I promise it'll be informative. First of all, let me say that I always find a reason to look back over the years of my own Tao cultivation every time we do this. And this visit involved several people who came from quite a distance to be here for the purpose of either being initiated or seeing the initiations occur. People who had either the affinity for the Tao with them or who are developing the affinity now. And let me explain what that means. There are those folks like Israel and Angela, in whom the karmic affinity for the Tao teachings is quite strong, and where the journey towards the Tao has been occurring for a period of time before they encounter the Yiguan Tao and Derek and I, or the ordained masters. And in those folks, very much like myself, there usually is a long-running search for an authentic set of answers and a better set of answers than what is typically available in Western religious society. While there are those who find their answers within the more Judeo-Christian traditions, there are a large number of us who do not. And for us, obviously, the authenticity and integrity of the teachings that we embrace is important. And one of the things that Israel said to me yesterday before we went into the initiation was that one of the things that drew him to us was reading Derek's translation of the Tao Te Ching and reading the annotations and explanations, and realizing that Derek's command of both Chinese and English gave him a perspective and skill set in translating and interpreting the ancient scriptures that is extremely rare and very valuable. And those words are the truth. There is not another translation of the Tao Te Ching anywhere that even remotely comes close to the Tao Te Ching annotated and explained by Derek Lin in the U.S. anyplace. The only explanations and translations, well, it's actually not a translation, it's more of an interpretation that can be found that's really on a par with that, are still all in Chinese by masters who have been around for a very long time, in which most of us cannot read and understand. So please be aware that what we have there is a rare treasure in and of itself. But that isn't why I brought this up. The reason I brought this up is that Israel and Angela felt the affinity and the resonance strongly enough that they hopped on a Greyhound bus and drove all night to get here at 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday so that they could be at Nate's shrine at 10 in the morning to go through the initiation ritual, and in Israel's case, to participate in the Qingkou. And as I contemplated that act, I found it to be remarkably humbling to realize the power and the reach of these teachings in the lives of others that, with very limited formal instruction and pretty limited resources, that they still found a way to avail themselves of the presence of the ordained masters and to receive Tao initiation and become a part of this organization. There are an awful lot of people within arm's reach of a shrine or a temple who do not see the value in the teachings and who look at people like Derek and I like we're nuts. I've become accustomed to that. Don't really worry about it. In fact, Derek and I are very aware of a few folks on the internet who've made a life's mission out of flaming us to pieces whenever they get a chance. And I don't know, I won't speak for Derek, but for me these days, I find that stuff to be humorous. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't cause me consternation. I don't get mad. I just find it funny. Because in point of fact, if you want to know what either one of us is about, all you have to do is turn on YouTube and you can find out. We both live our lives in such a way that if anybody wanted to examine them, the evidence of what we do and what we're about is spread all over the World Wide Web. That being said, I still find their arrival here remarkably humbling, and for that reason. We had folks come down from Illinois, around Evanston. I'm sorry, Rochelle and Gina are not from Evanston. They're from a different place in Illinois, and I've just forgotten what it is. I'm still a little tired. Israel's from Evanston. But she brought down a couple of friends with her. Gina has been in my Tai Chi school for a number of months now, and comes down whenever she can to study Tai Chi with us and practice. And she came down not to be initiated, she's already done that, but to have an opportunity to visit with and speak with the ordained masters, and to bring a couple of friends with her, which she did. Rochelle and Dennis came down with her, and as with Israel and Angela, they drove a couple of hours to be down here and to take advantage of that opportunity. We had a couple of additional people from the Tai Chi school, David and Dr. Bob, both students of mine, and in the case of David, a remarkable martial instructor in his own right, came to observe and to learn and to see what we're all about. And so all at one time, we had a dozen people or so in Nate's shrine, all of them at varying degrees of the developing karmic affinity. And when I talk about varying degrees, what I mean is that we had people there who were encountering the Yuan-Dao and the authentic teachings for the very first time. And we had people there who had been searching for answers for quite some time and believed that we had the answers that they were looking for. And then we had people there like Nate and myself who had found those answers some time ago and have been walking that Tao spiritual path for some time as well. And then we had the ordained masters who have obviously not only demonstrated the affinity, but attained the realization of the Tao teachings, and the synergy and power that occurred within that group of a dozen people for that 3 or 4 hour period of time was remarkable. It was analogous to a very close-knit family dinner, not the Thanksgiving dinner you see on The Simpsons where people are throwing turkeys and canned vegetables at each other, but you know, a real functioning family sort of a dinner where people get along with each other and where there's a shared compassion and love and kindness amongst the participants. And it was stunning to watch and to be a part of. It was very nice to be able to do the description of the three treasures in the Chinko. I enjoy doing that, and there are things that need to be communicated to those who particularly say they wish to take the Chinko vow. That's not a commitment to be made lightly. It is something to be taken with a great deal of seriousness and solemnity, because it involves a spiritual vow that does not go away when it becomes inconvenient or difficult or not fun anymore. It's a lifetime commitment. And Israel made that commitment yesterday as well, which I find extremely gratifying and wonderful to see. And so we spent some time, obviously, reviewing, discussing, practicing the use of the three treasures. I'm going to be sending the new initiates documents on how those work, and they took home a nifty publication that I think Derek, you and Janice engineered that described the three treasures, which was really very nice. I hadn't seen those previous to this visit, although I managed to get my hands on one of them, and I'm going to be reading it here soon to help them remember that practice. And it turned out really, really nice. And then we had a wonderful vegetarian lunch that we picked up from a nearby restaurant. I have to tell you guys that sometimes the most wonderful things happen when they come out of absolutely nowhere. And I mentioned earlier that we always have, kind of a plan that we try to adhere to when we do these things, because to do this with no plan at all would just be chaos. And one of the things that Master William had me tend to was reservations for supper for he and Master Chin and Nate and I at a little restaurant in Whitestown that he found. And we had plans there to take the assembled group there for lunch after the rituals. But when we got there Friday evening, we found out that although the food was quite good, that the venue was quite small. There literally were 3 tables with 4 chairs each. And our group would have overwhelmed them at their busiest time on a Saturday. So what we decided to do was change horses midstream there, and we just went and picked up the Saturday lunch from the restaurant, brought it back to Nate's house, and spread out in their kitchen and served lunch to everyone. And it turned out to be great. It turned out to be truly wonderful. And as everyone was eating there, we were all able to sit down, get comfortable, and continue the discussion after the rituals, which was useful for everyone present. So as it turned out, not moving the group worked out to be perhaps one of the most beneficial things that occurred, and that was completely out of the blue. Those sorts of occurrences and synergies occur all the time for us as we cultivate the Tao teachings. As we improve and refine our lives and walk the spiritual path, what I tell people is that by some miraculous means, the Tao seems to extend an awful lot of slack and latitude to us for sincere effort and trying really hard to make things work out well. And that sometimes even things that appear to be completely chaotic and disastrous can turn out wonderfully and perfectly, as a matter of fact, through absolutely no fault of our own. and it still amazes me all the way down to the marrow of my bones when I see that occur. Another really interesting thing is that although I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning and going all day, by the end of it, I still didn't feel worn out. And I was still pretty doggone energetic and really feeling good when everything was all said and done with. It was a refreshing experience and definitely worth participating in. For any of you who are anywhere near Indianapolis, if you have a desire to understand more about what it is we do and how it is we do it, I dearly would love to hear from you. If you believe you have the karmic affinity, I really would love to hear from you. And for those of you who were there with us on Saturday, if you're wanting to continue those discussions, you all already know where I am. And I know I can speak for Derek and I both when I say that we are absolutely willing to help you get to the point of understanding the Tao teachings and making the choice, if you're so inclined, to receive initiation and to start down this wonderful spiritual path with the rest of us. If you have an opportunity to see this done, it is always worth the experience to sit and speak with the ordained masters and to listen to them teach and explain the Tao studies. I've been doing this for going on 20 years now. And yesterday, Master William still taught me things that I did not know or had forgotten. I realize that some of you who may be new to the organization think that I've been here forever and that I've got all the answers for you, but that's not entirely true. I am still just cultivating the teachings in my life and trying to reform myself, just like everybody else. And like everybody else, I still require teaching and guidance and help and assistance from time to time. And I will tell you that Master William, over the years, has become both a very dear friend and a wonderful, wonderful teacher to me, as well as Master Chen. And without their assistance and their guidance and their help, I absolutely could not do what I do out here. Derek, my older Tao brother, is in that same group, only from a slightly different perspective, because he and I actually communicate somewhat more clearly and easily. My Chinese is absolutely terrible, and Derek's English is wonderful. And he and I see the world pretty much the same way. But he is an excellent source of help and assistance for you, and I'll kind of leave it at that since he's sitting here with us and I don't want to make him embarrassed. It was a wonderful Saturday. I just want to encourage all of you to avail yourselves of those opportunities, particularly for those of you in Los Angeles, to avail yourselves of the ordained masters. That is a gift that is rare and wonderful and very, very nice to have close at hand. And for those of you who are nearby, the invitation's always extended to visit the shrines and to come to understand the Tao teachings. We welcome you all whenever. I will share pictures as soon as I get them. I have not yet received them. The Master Chen and Master William are in New York right now. We're on their way back to LA. And so they've not had an opportunity to send out emails and what have you. But we got some wonderful pictures. They got to see Dr. Bob's practice while they were here, the place where the Tai Chi school is located, and that was fun for all concerned. And we all got to sit around and chat for a little while about how all of that works. So there'll be more to come. But for the moment, that's the high points, the highlights, and what was important. And I want to thank you all for allowing me to share with you. And as always, I hope something that I said here was useful or helpful to you. Thank you very much.
Hey, Bill, thank you. You mentioned internet detractors, so I'd like to mention that one of them had asked me a question recently, and that person basically is trying to use the fact that my thinking is a lot of it is similar to what the atheists profess. So he asked, well, Derek, you don't pray to the Buddha or any other deity, so why do you care if people go through a religious ritual or not? So my response to him, I think, would probably be the same as your response would be. I told him that I care about not necessarily the people going through initiation or this and that. What I care about, in essence, I care deeply about people getting the help they need, and the focus is on them, not on me. It's about the help they're looking for, not what I or anyone else assumes they need. Another person who maybe calls himself atheist may come around and say that, well, you don't need that. You really need, these books. These are some of my favorite books. They help me. I think they will help you. Well, they're kind of making an assumption about what another person needs or wants. To me, that's actually kind of arrogant. I would rather be much more humble and ask people what they feel they need, because chances are they know better than I do, and then provide that help if I'm in a position to do so. Because after all, we all approach the divine in our own way. Bill, I know my approach is a little bit different from yours, although our thinking about the world really overlaps a great deal, maybe mostly. And Bill, let me see if you agree with this. When I make the following statement to the entire world, really, for Bill and myself and the other people associated with the temple, but I'll just speak for Bill and myself because I know Bill well. Helping others fills us with a joy that I cannot even begin to describe. Bill and I don't need compensation. For us, just being able to witness the Tao transforming your life is rewards enough. In fact, I'll even say more than enough. What do you think, Bill?
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that I'll just say very, very briefly is that our organization is unique in that the work of the shrines and the temples is not supported by the congregants per se. It is supported by the masters out of our own pockets. And so not only are we not compensated, but what we do, we contribute of our own free will gladly.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Seeing... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, you just know that for some people that doesn't make any sense because, for them, it's all about addition and subtraction. Like if you give more, then you have less, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, okay. That's not how it works, and you and I both know that.
That's right.
But that's one of those things that I find moderately humorous because it gets said a lot. I'm going to tell you all very, very honestly. My family has never suffered because of the contributions I've ever made to the temple or to the work of the temple. Not once, not ever. And what we have received for what I consider to be not a huge contribution has been phenomenal. And so, for those who don't understand how the Tao of giving works, I'm with you. I didn't get it for a long time either. It's something you got to practice to understand. But once you get it, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, Bill, I think, the people who are listening to you today, just from your voice, just from your tonality, they can feel, this joy that I speak of, that is basically, saturating everything right now.
Well, yeah, that's most Sundays, but I always feel especially good after I get done with a visit from the masters. Those guys lift up everybody around them. They just do.
Exactly. And what the masters themselves will say is fa xi, 2 characters, fa xi, and the first one fa, that just means dharma, and then xi, the second character means joy. So the kind of joy which is different from other kinds of worldly happiness that we experience, they call it essentially dharmic joy.
Can you go into a little more detail on what that exactly means, please?
You bet.
I think there's a lot more depth to that term than what you just said.
Yeah. Indeed, the full expression is fa xi cong man, which means full of dharmic joy. So I think, Bill, probably the best thing for me to do is to maybe in the next time, in our next meeting, I'll present a slide with the characters, with the pinyin pronunciation, with the character by character breakdown, and then bring it all together as an overall definition. What do you think?
If you wouldn't mind, I'd be most appreciative. Master William spent about an hour explaining Nan Wu Mi Fu Shi Tian Yuan to me yesterday because I have such a tough time with the Chinese to begin with. And I really wanted to understand that. And so I made him go through it about half a dozen times until I was absolutely sure I got it.
Well, good for you. More power to you. And I'm more than happy to present that. And I think there may be other people who are also interested as well. It's
absolutely.
Sometimes it's hard when you explore the spiritual realm. You experience feelings that's different from the other feelings that you've had before. Like it's really powerful and it's great, but there's no exact word that describes it. So fa xi would be one attempt to try to put a name on something that doesn't have a name.
Yeah, I'm with you there. There are a few of those things. I run into those in the Tai Chi school where I try to find a term that paints a picture based on discovery based in practice, like Qi, for instance. And although you can say what it means from a dictionary context, the technical meaning does not convey either the mental picture or the feeling.
Exactly.
Let's go ahead and do the meeting ending ritual, everybody. 起立，面向佛堂，持架深鞠躬，一鞠躬，再鞠躬，三鞠躬，持架各位顶传11鞠躬，斜翻1鞠躬。We're done, everybody. Thank you so much.